Every single professional out there wrestles with one big thing: mastering decision-making without fear. Well, today, in this explainer, we are taking some incredibly profound ideas from a prominent leadership text to completely reframe how you handle risk, hesitation, and action. Listen, if you've ever felt totally paralyzed by a tough call and you want to lead with genuine confidence, you are in the exact right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're unpacking Ryuho Okawa's Winning Strategies for Leaders. If you glance at the index at the bottom of the cover, you'll actually see a list of 13 practical weapons for getting real results. But today, our analysis is going to focus strictly, and I mean deeply, on just one of them. Chapter 3, Decision-Making Power Unafraid of Risks. It is a fascinating, hard-hitting concept that definitely deserves our full attention.
To get there, we've got a clear, logical roadmap. First, we'll diagnose decision versus indecision. Second, we'll explore the trap of idealism. Third, we'll equip you with 2 weapons for decisions. And finally, we'll see exactly why speed defines a leader.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Decision versus Indecision, the thin line between carefulness and paralysis. So there is a massive difference between prudence, which is careful thought and consideration, and indecision, which is basically just hesitation and the sheer inability to make a choice. Don't get me wrong, prudence is a vital trait. Every leader absolutely needs to weigh their options. But the source text makes a really powerful argument here. It points out that while careful thought is necessary, it is a very slippery slope. Leaders have to urgently prevent their prudence from degrading into paralyzing indecision. It's incredibly easy to mask your fear of making a wrong choice by telling yourself, "Oh, I'm simply being prudent." Actually, scratch that, it's an incredibly common excuse. But if you stay in that planning phase forever, you're not leading, you're just stalling.
Which brings us directly to the core thesis of Chapter 3, Decision-Making Power Unafraid of Risks is required to bridge the gap from thought to action. You see, action is literally the only thing that moves an organization forward. To overcome that paralyzing indecision we just talked about, you've got to actively cultivate the power to make choices even when the outcome isn't 100% guaranteed. You cannot let the fear of risk freeze you in place. The bridge between a great strategy and actual results is built entirely out of brave decisions. Moving on to Section 2, Trap of Idealism, the danger of extreme virtue. Now, what's really interesting about this is how a historical metaphor brilliantly illustrates the absolute danger of overthinking and over-polishing your ideals. To really grasp this, consider the classical idiom Song Xiang's benevolence. It refers to the trap of being so overly idealistic that it actually causes your own self-destruction. The book gives a pretty stark warning here. Sometimes, leaders desperately want the conditions of their decision to be absolutely perfect, completely fair, and morally unassailable from every conceivable angle before they take a single step. But in the real world of business, waiting for that perfect, pure moment can be completely fatal. Extreme idealism can ruin a leader and their entire organization because it prevents them from doing what is functionally required to survive.
The consequences of falling into this trap are severe. Striving for perfect idealism just causes strategic failure. Masking your fear of risk as benevolence halts critical action. Ultimately, true leadership requires prioritizing practical survival over flawless ideals. As a leader, you simply cannot let unrealistic, self-destructive ideals prevent you from making tough, necessary strategic calls. When you demand perfection, you usually just get paralysis. You've got to be willing to make the best decision available in the moment, not the perfect decision you wish existed.
Let's transition into the solutions with Section 3, 2 Weapons for Decisions, Actionable Management Frameworks.
So, we've spent some time diagnosing the problem, that psychological trap of hesitation and idealism. But how do we actually conquer this fear of risk? Well, the text provides 2 primary weapons for enhancing your decision-making power. First, we have intellectual-based management, where the key mechanism is expanding your knowledge. And second, time-based management, where the key mechanism is shortening your time. It is super important to understand the distinction between these dual approaches. One gives you the raw material to make better choices, while the other literally forces you to execute those choices efficiently. Let's break each one down.
First up is intellectual-based management, the expanded reproduction of knowledge to create a stronger foundation for confident choices.
So the crucial point is that a whole lot of our fear of risk actually stems from a simple lack of information. By constantly expanding and reproducing your knowledge base, learning from past outcomes, studying the data, understanding your industry on a deeper level, you drastically reduce the perceived risks of a decision. When you know more, the unknown shrinks, and when the unknown shrinks, you can make bold decisions with so much more confidence. It's like building a mental database so rich that the right choice just becomes obvious.
The second weapon is time-based management, the deliberate strategy of shortening the time taken to arrive at a conclusion. Now, notice the word deliberate here. This isn't about just rushing blindly or flipping a coin. Actively reducing the time spent deliberating is a highly calculated management strategy. Think about it. If you give yourself a month to make a decision, you will take a month. But if you give yourself 2 days, you will focus only on the absolutely critical variables and make a decision in 2 days. By forcing a shorter timeline, you cut right through the noise, you bypass the trap of endless prudence, and you compel yourself into action.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. Section 4, Speed defines a leader, the ultimate characteristic of leadership.
Here's the ultimate conclusion of the text, and it's a real powerhouse of an idea. People with true leadership ability share one core characteristic. Their decisions are fast. That's it. The defining characteristic of a highly capable leader is the sheer speed of their decision-making process. They don't linger in doubt. They don't sit around waiting for some utopian scenario where zero risk exists. They gather their knowledge, set a strict time limit, and they move. Speed isn't just a byproduct of good leadership. Speed is the defining feature of it.
Let's quickly review the steps we've uncovered today. Step 1. Recognize indecision disguised as prudence. Step 2. Discard self-destructive idealism. Step 3. Apply your knowledge and time frameworks. And Step 4. Execute with speed. And this brilliantly illustrates the logical progression we've just taken. We started by identifying that sneaky psychological trap of hesitation, moved through the dangerous illusions of idealism, equipped ourselves with intellectual and time-based weapons, and finally arrived at the ultimate goal, executing decisions with rapid precision. For anyone struggling with leadership paralysis, this is an absolute game changer.
Which leaves us with one final, piercing question to ask ourselves. Are you afraid of the risk, or are you just wasting time? Seriously, think about the big choices sitting on your desk right now. Are you truly gathering essential data, or are you just hiding behind prudence because you don't want to take the leap? I challenge you to critically evaluate your own daily decision-making process based on these strict standards we've talked about today. Expand your knowledge, shorten your timelines, and stop letting the fear of risk hold you back. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Start making those fast, informed choices, and I'll see you next time.